Hello, welcome back to another book review. And today I'm profiling Shin Kyung-sook and explaining what her work is, how it reads, and why it matters. A novel about a missing mother helped introduce millions of readers to Korean literature and turned its author into a standard bearer abroad. So I'll outline Shin's rise from early stories such as The Place Where the Harmonium Was, through the huge success of Please Look After Mom and its awards and translations, and led to later books such as I'll Be Right There and The Girl Who Wrote Loneliness. And I'll focus on recurring themes of family, memory, sacrifice, and the costs of rapid change. By the end, you'll know where to start with Shin's work, what tone to expect, and how these books speak to both Korean history and everyday life. So, hello everyone, I'm Barry. This is Seoul Book Club. And there's a very strong argument to be made that Shin Kyung-sook is South Korea's most beloved writer. She's undoubtedly one of the most widely read. Over the course of more than 3 decades, her books have sold millions of copies, and she's received numerous literary awards and accolades from the South Korean literary establishment. Furthermore, following the publication of the English translation of her novel Please Look After Mom in 2011, her work has gained widespread international recognition, and Shin is now seen by many as a standard bearer for South Korean literature. In 2012, just as Psy's brash and ironic pop song Gangnam Style was rapidly becoming the most watched video in YouTube history, Shin Kyung-sook was busy single-handedly raising the international profile of Korean literature. During 2012, Please Look After Mom was selected as a Book of the Month by Oprah Winfrey's influential book club and the Amazon website. It also became the first South Korean novel to feature on the New York Times bestseller list, sold out its initial print run of 100,000 copies, and won the Man Asian Literary Award. Shin beat out Banana Yoshimoto and Haruki Murakami to win the Man Asian Literary Prize, and in doing so became the first South Korean and first woman to win the region's most prestigious literary accolade. The novel would go on to be translated into more than 24 languages, and while Psy's horsey dancing K-pop sensation and Shin's introspective novel about a lost mother may seem unlikely bedfellows, both highlight issues in contemporary Korean society and introduce the world to aspects of Korean culture. Psy used ribald satire to critique aspirational consumerism, and in contrast, Shin used the ebb and flow of memory and time to reveal the flaws hidden by the shiny surface of modern South Korea. Sorry, excuse me. Before Please Look After Mom was translated for international readers, it was a massive success at home in South Korea, where it sold more than 2 million copies following its original publication in 2009. The novel tells the story of a family's desperate search for their elderly mother who goes missing at Seoul Station, one of the city's biggest and busiest transport hubs. It's an ingeniously structured novel comprising 4 chapters, each from the perspective of a different family member: the daughter, the son, the husband, and most poignantly of all, from the missing mother herself. The first 3 chapters are devastating as the daughter, son, and husband react to the disappearance and frantically search the city. As they search, they're haunted by the memories of the mother they had neglected and the realization that, despite her profound influence on their lives, they had each failed to appreciate her when she was with them. Shin says that Please Look After Mom, and I'll quote here, was born out of the recognition that even a mother needs a mother. In the story, a family tries to cope with their mother's absence after they lose her in a crowded train station. As they search for their missing mother, the family learns that she wasn't born a mother, but rather had become one. And as with everyone else, the first word she learned was mama. In short, even a mother needs a mother. In the final chapter, Shin reveals the proud inner life of Park Son-yo, a woman who was born poor, raised illiterate, and married off at 16 to an uncaring husband. Shin touchingly gives voice to her dreams, memories, secret loves, and personal tragedies in an act of literary restoration that gives life back to a neglected woman. Please Look After Mom is at once an ode, an elegy, and a tribute to moms and motherhood. It is also arguably the best representation of themes she has been writing about for decades. Shin started her career in 1985 at the precocious age of 22 with the publication of her debut novella Winter's Fable. And although warmly received, it was the publication of The Place Where the Harmonium Was, the title story in a collection of short stories, that made her famous and captured the imagination of the wider reading public. The Place Where the Harmonium Was is written from the point of view of a woman having an affair with a married man. They've been planning to run away together, but the narrator's conscience is disturbed by childhood memories of the time when her own father's lover pushed her mother from the family home. The story is structured mostly as a letter the narrator writes to her lover, explaining she has decided to end the relationship. Her memories have revealed that she is inhabiting the role of the other woman and that her actions can only lead to sadness. The style and themes of this early story would recur throughout Shin's later novels, not least of all Please Look After Mom. A concern with moral issues and family structure, a sense of belonging or not belonging, wives betrayed by husbands, daughters struggling to live up to parental desires, the role of memory, regret, and loss in shaping the present. The meticulous poetry and detailed lyricism of The Place Where the Harmonium Was garnered a great deal of critical acclaim and solidified her reputation as one of the most talented writers of her generation. The generation to which Shin belongs is often referred to as the 386 generation, and together they are regarded by many as having had a powerful influence on modern Korean history. The 386 generation refers to those who were in their 30s during the 1990s, were born in the 1960s, and were politically active during the pro democracy movement in the 1980s. Shin's next novel to be translated into English, I'll Be Right There, is set against the backdrop of the 1980s pro democracy movement. The narrative begins when Chong Yun receives a phone call from an old friend telling her that a much loved professor from their university days is dying. This tragic news causes Chong Yun to reflect on her days as a 20-year-old student when student protesters clashed with riot police and the smell of tear gas hung over the streets of downtown Seoul. Against a powerfully rendered backdrop of political protests and suspicious disappearances, Chong Yun and her friends struggle to maintain their at times idyllic shared life as forces from outside and within threaten to tear them apart. In her author's note, Shin writes that if it were not for the sacrifices of these young people who fought and struggled for change, South Korea would not be what it is today. In drawing on her own experiences as a student in the 1980s, Shin creates a novel that is at once steeped in tragedy and an evocative depiction of young adulthood, friendship, and the ties of love. Her next book to be translated into English is the autobiographical The Girl Who Wrote Loneliness, which describes Shin's own tentative steps towards becoming a writer. The main narrative thread tells the story of a 16-year-old Shin and her cousin as they move away from their family homes in the countryside to live in Seoul, where they have jobs as factory workers. It's as moving and touching as any of her fictional works, and offers a great deal of insight into where many of her thematic obsessions stem from. The Girl Who Wrote Loneliness makes clear that many of her novels are directly inspired by personal experience. Shin's own self sacrificing mother, living in Seoul during the late 1970s and early 1980s, the role of memory in our lives, and the deaths of friends. Shin writes about these things with grace, simplicity, and a great deal of honesty. It's this emotional honesty in revealing the lives of people just trying to get by that has endeared her to millions of readers here in South Korea and elsewhere. If there's one thing that defines Shin's writing, it is compassion. As she says, I continue to write with the hope that my writing, like the magical touches of my mother, can look after those that have begun to die away so that they may continue to live. So anyway, thank you for watching this overview of Shin Kyung-sook. If this helped you decide what to read, please like the video and subscribe for more reviews. And tell me in the comments what you'd like me to review next. And I appreciate you all for watching. Take care, and I'll see you back here in the next review.